Yes, guys, today I am taking you through my ideal draft strategy for Fantasy Football 2025. You can use it on just about every single scoring system. We are mock drafting, and I'm taking you through every single pick. Let us begin. I'm going to give us here the 10th or the 11th pick. Let's just say we get the worst case scenario. We'll do another mock draft at the end after this where we randomize the order. Maybe we start from the beginning. Maybe we do 3 or 4 mocks today. Who knows? I just want to show you guys that this works really anywhere on the draft board. So let's start at the 10. We'll start the draft up at the 110. And I'm going to real quick, guys, just remove the face cam because I had a couple people in the comments last time literally crying that the face cam was blocking these picks here, 9 through 12. So I'm glad you can see them now. I'm up at 110 here. And what the draft guide says, guys, I posted this on the Twitter, okay? At Joe Arico FF. Every single day we're posting. What I suggest in round 1. I'll start by saying this. If you can get your hands on Bijan Robinson, he is the player I want above any other player. Now, you most likely need a pick number 1, 2, or 3 to do that. If you were in my draft and I had the 101, he wouldn't be making it to 102. So I'll start by saying this. Bijan, if you can. If you can't, which is likely, I am really looking at the wide receivers in round 1. And once we talk about rounds 2 and 3, you'll kind of see why. But truthfully, guys, not a bad pick exists here between Jefferson, Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Puka Nacua, and Brian Robinson. So we'll head back to the board. On the board here, we are the 110. We have Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, and then we have Drake London, who I'm not taking in the first. But ahead of us, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brian Thomas, Puka, they all went off the board. And I'm going to take, guys, Malik Neighbors. Let's just do a quick note, guys, on Neighbors real quick. So in his rookie season, he averaged 11 targets per game. In his rookie season, so that would be more than Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua. And if you were to name any single wide receiver last year, he had more targets per game than them as a rookie. Wide receiver 6 overall, and quite literally had no quarterback throwing to him. Now he has Russell Wilson, potentially Jackson Dart, potentially Jameis Winston. So if wide receiver 6 is really the floor, that's why I'm taking him here all day long in the first round. Now, we move on to round 2, okay? And what the guide suggests that I post, we love wide receiver in round 1 because in round 2, we're looking at Devon Achane, Christian McCaffrey, Ashton Genty sometimes, Derrick Henry, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs. These guys all have RB1 overall ceiling. For those of you watching, don't worry, the face cam will come back in a moment here once we're through the first couple rounds. But as I said, these running backs in round 2, I really think can go head-to-head any given Sunday with the likes of Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs, and yes, even Bijan sometimes, but I do have Bijan in a tier to himself. So we have Genty available now, Christian McCaffrey, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, as I mentioned. Achane went at the 202 before us. In a lot of drafts, you're going to see Genty go in the first, potentially Christian McCaffrey. A lot of people say that these guys are going to go in the first, right? Oh, they're not available in the first in my league. They probably will be, brother, okay? Because not a lot of people are actually going to pull the trigger on Ashton Genty in the first. I would if I was in your league, potentially, okay? But the majority of people, it's not going to happen. So Genty, McCaffrey, we'll take one of them here. Let's go with Genty at the 203. So we have a little bit of time until it gets back to us. The face cam is back on. And let's take a look at what we're looking to do in round 3. Okay? In round 3, there are still running backs on the board that basically are top 12 running backs. I mean, they are ranked for me, with the exception of one of these guys, who's in that RB2 range for me. That's Breece Hall. But the majority of these guys are ranked top 12 by consensus, and they are available in the 3rd round. Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, Chase Brown. Really, after these running back guys, you see a big cliff at the running back position. Okay? Kyron, Breece. After those guys, I mean, we're looking at James Cook. We're looking at Ken Walker, Joe Mixon. You know, good running backs, but a lot more risk than the players I'm mentioning right now. So what I like to do is go and grab another top 12 running back here and then really kind of chill out on running back through the RB dead zone, which is rounds 4 and 5 through like round 9, round 8. That is the RB dead zone. It's just guys that we don't know what to make of them, so we put them in at round 6, round 7, okay? The reason I'm not going wide receiver here is because I'm looking at Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, right? I think that I like those guys, but I think that in maybe 10, 15, even 20 picks, there are guys that are very similar to them. What reason I'm not going with tight end? Well, I'd have to take George Kittle. And I view players like Hockenson, Laporta, Kelsey a little later, right? As not as good as Kittle, obviously. I'd rather have George Kittle, but at the cost, it lets me build a better team overall. In terms of QB, we're not going with Hurts, all right? Because I think guys below Hurts, like Joe Burrow, Bo Nix even, are kind of like as good as Hurts. Certainly Burrow, he is my QB3 actually above Hurts. But just the value of where I can draft Kyler, Justin Herbert, okay? Caleb Williams outside the top 100 picks. No need to go Hurts here. Absolutely no need. So we'll be going running back. For me, it's going to be Kyron over the likes of Breece Hall, James Cook, Ken Walker, and Alvin. So we have 2 top 12 running backs, and we have Malik Neighbors. All right. Now, in the 4th round, I just mentioned it. The value we are talking about, okay, is at the wide receiver position. I have guys like DJ Moore, Rashee Rice, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf. At least one of these guys will be available. I think they're great picks, great values. Like I said, we could go George Kittle if he was available here. I believe he is. Yeah, his ADP is 41 right now. I believe we're under 40 still. We could take Kittle here. Honestly, it's something I could see myself doing, like in my home draft, and just getting that tight end advantage. But again, guys, I just can't get over Kelsey at 71. I mean, even a guy so much later, right? Like an Evan Ingram at 93, a David Njoku at 94. Like, I just think there's good options later at tight end. With that being said, Bowers or McBride, I want them on my team. You know, if you guys are late second and you're kind of stuck, and one of those guys is available, I love taking them. They are massive advantages, but after that, I play the field. So let's look at wide receiver. As I mentioned before, we have Adams, DJ Moore, Sutton, Metcalf. I'm leaning towards Sutton and Metcalf here. A lot of times you'll see Rashee Rice, but a lot of times Rashee Rice is going to go in that 3rd, maybe even 2nd round. He's a value. He went here at the 402. Okay, so for us, it's between Sutton or Metcalf, and we're going to go with Cortland Sutton. When we look at Cortland Sutton, guys, last year, okay, he was a value, obviously, all right, but he was a wide receiver 1. And let me just find the tweet here. Sorry about that, all the scrolling. He was a wide receiver 1, weeks 8 through 18. 19 fantasy points per game, that was wide receiver 7. 18 fantasy points per game, that was wide receiver 7. And 9+ targets in 8 out of 10 games played. So that was weeks 8 through 18, guys. That's like almost 3 months of the season. He was truly a top 10, top 8 wide receiver. And I'm kind of giving him a discount for the first almost half of the season because Bo Nix was still getting used to the NFL. So a lot of people slept on him through the first 2-3 months of the season, but then in the back half of the season, top 10 wide receiver. No true wide receiver 2, all right, in Denver, and we're grabbing him in the 4th round. That's why we went running back in 2 and 3. And now let's go ahead into rounds 5 and 6. What the draft guide suggests, guys, that I've created is that the wide receiver value continues here. We are in the middle of the running back dead zone. A lot of uncertainty at running back. I'm going to continue to avoid it. There are some picks that we are so locked in on that we love, like a Mike Davis from 2 or 3 years ago. Remember when he was on the Falcons as the lead RB? He was a guy in the 5th or 6th round in this dead zone that we were certain he was just going to volume his way to top 15 running back output, and he ended up not. Now, sometimes the RB dead zone, like last year with James Conner, for example, provides a lot of value. It's just a risky game. It really is a 50-50 flip. I mean, a guy right now like RJ Harvey, who's going in the 5th or 6th, who 50% of people love, honestly, probably more than that. I'm on the team of, like, not my favorite pick ever, to be honest. These guys who are polarizing, who people have strong opinions on one way or another, sometimes it's best to avoid them, okay? Because there are value picks elsewhere on the board. Now, rounds 5 and 6, okay? Now that I'm off my little RB tangent, all right, the wide receiver value is continuing with guys like Worthy, Pickens, Waddle, Jamison Williams, high-end flexes, or honestly locked-in wide receiver 2s that we're going to get for the flex. And we're going to start to look at the tight end position, Hockenson, Laporta, Kelsey. That's what we're going to do here. Okay, so let's head to the board. George Pickens here. Jamison Williams, one of those guys is coming on the team. Let's take a look at tight end. We do have Jonnu Smith and Kelsey on the board still. So it's a bit of a risky game here. Because I want one of Pickens or Williams, and I want only Travis Kelsey. Now, Kelsey's ADP is 71 overall. We're at like pick 58 right now, if my math is correct. So technically, we should be safe here. If Kelsey's ADP was like 61, 62, beginning of the 6th round here, we'd have to take Kelsey and just hope that one of the two make it. But since we are so early on Kelsey, I am going to go with Pickens. I do view Pickens as a better pick than Jameson Williams. The Cowboys have been top 10 in total wide receiver fantasy points, okay, in each of the last 5 seasons. George Pickens is an absolute value. Remember the days when Amari Cooper alongside other solid Cowboy wide receivers would put up numbers, even Brandon Cooks alongside CeeDee Lamb? That position on the Cowboys is very valuable. We take Pickens in the 5th, and we go right ahead to Kelsey in the 6th. Now, a lot of people don't love Travis Kelsey. He's low-key like in the Christian McCaffrey category for me, but at a 6th or 7th round draft cost and at a different position. So we look at the game log, guys. Each of the last 9 years, a top 5 tight end, obviously his worst season in those years came last year, tight end 5 overall. But I mean, if we're drafting tight end 5 overall in the 6th or 7th round, that is a value. I don't care that he's 35. I don't care that Rashee Rice was out for the majority of last season. Travis Kelsey was averaging double-digit targets with the likes of McBride and Bowers to close the season last year. So I'm all in on that price. I mean, if you were asking me a 4th or 5th for Kelsey, a Kittle price tag, even a Laporta price tag, I'm probably out, okay? But again, 71 overall in drafts is Travis Kelsey. So we're up again on the board at the 7-10. Take a look at the draft guide. Let's see what it suggests, all right? So at the moment, we have 2 running backs. We have 3 wide receivers on the team. We don't have a QB yet. So round 7 and 8 in 12 teams, I'm starting to think that this is the end of the RB dead zone, because when I look at the board and I see the RBs coming out, Quinshon Judkins, Trevion Henderson, Brian Robinson, Caleb Johnson, Travis Etienne, these guys are monsters. I would rather draft these guys here. Honestly, I would rather just draft these guys in a vacuum than the majority of running backs going in the 5th or the 6th. I'm talking RJ Harvey. I know his name keeps coming up. I got to find some better examples. Okay, I'd rather draft these guys over Tony Pollard, Tyrone Tracy, David Montgomery, Aaron Jones, Pacheco. All right, once you start getting into the James Cook, Ken Walker, I'm taking those guys first. But I'm looking at the board. Pacheco, Jones, RJ Harvey, Montgomery, Pollard. These guys are going off the board, all right, before Quinshon Judkins, Trevion Henderson, Brian Robinson, Caleb Johnson, Etienne. I love these running backs, okay? And then we are now entering the value section of the draft for the QB position. Jared Goff, who I'm not that high on, okay? With Johnson leaving the offense there, Ben Johnson, the old OC, not that high on Goff. I'd rather take Bo Nix, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams later, CJ Stroud later, Dak Prescott later, Drake May later, Justin Fields later, okay? So Jared Goff, with the exception of him, who, if he's your guy, right, you have an Amon-Ra St. Brown in your team, you want to do a little stack, you got Laporta, go for it. But right now, Bo Nix, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, values, okay? These are top 10 QBs here, and we are going to get them in the 8th round. So let's take a look at running back to start. On the board, we have Najee Harris, no thank you. Brian Robinson, sure. Jaylen Warren, probably not. Caleb Johnson, Travis Etienne, absolutely. Okay, we're in on those latter 2 guys. For the purpose of this draft, I'll take Caleb Johnson. In real life, I'm probably going Etienne there. And now, in the 8th, at the 8:03, let's go ahead and grab a quarterback. And I'm going to just go ahead and select Bo Nix. What he did as a rookie was incredibly impressive. Finished as QB7 after really not doing too much, until week 5 here. I mean, at weeks 1 through 4, we're looking at a 13-point output, 10 points, 19 points, and then 6 points. But then weeks 5 through the end of the season, guys, he really was a top 5 QB. Finished week 18 here, 33.5 points in week 18. Hell of a finish for Bo Nix, all right? So now, through 8 rounds, our entire roster is really beginning to fill out here. We have Bo Nix at QB, Ashton Genty and Kyron Williams at running back, Malik Neighbors and Cortland Sutton at wide receiver, okay? We have a Bo Nix Sutton stack. Didn't even realize I was doing that. Travis Kelsey at tight end, George Pickens and Caleb Johnson at the flex. This is a absolute monster of a roster. And let's begin filling out the bench here. All right, so in rounds 9 and 10, we have 3 wide receivers now, and we have 3 running backs on the team. So our running backs are Genty, Williams, and Johnson. Very good. And our wide receivers are Neighbors, Sutton, and Pickens. Also very good. Sometimes in these drafts, you'll say, my wide receivers are way better than my running backs, or my running backs are way better than my wide receivers. And when one of those positions is not as good, I tend to draft them a bit earlier in the later rounds. So, like, if my running backs were weaker here, I would be drafting running backs in 9 and 10. Or if my wide receivers were weaker, I'd be drafting running backs. Or excuse me, I'd be drafting wide receivers. I hope that makes sense. So when I look at it, though, I don't think that my wide receivers or running backs are necessarily stronger or weaker than each other here. So I'm just going to go ahead and look for value on the board. Running back right away, Tyjae Spears is jumping off the page at me. Wide receiver, we have Ricky Pearsall, Darnell Mooney, Keon Coleman. There's some great picks here, so let's just go Tyjae. To finish the season last year in the fantasy playoffs, guys, he was a running back 1, a top 8 running back, filling in for Tony Pollard, who was injured, banged up, old, not good. A lot of people don't realize that because they didn't have the cojones to put Tyjae Spears in their lineup, because why would they? He hadn't done anything for 14 weeks. Why would I start him in the fantasy playoffs? And then he went crazy in week 15, and it was like, oh, well, he only did that 1 week. I'm not going to start him week 16. And then he went crazy in week 16, and it was like, oh, well, now I'm out of the playoffs, or I'm in the finals, and maybe I'll use him, but even still, right? So in round 10, we took Spears in round 9. In round 10, let's go back to wide receiver. Split it here, RB and wide receiver. I'm going to grab Keon Coleman. When you look at Coleman's game log from last year, guys, pretty interesting. Once he had that full-time role, okay, he played 2 games, literally only 2 games out of all 17 where he was in a full-time role and fully healthy. And he was a top 15 wide receiver in both of them. And that could just be an insane, crazy nitpick of a schedule and a box score, but it just makes you wonder, right? I don't like drafting players based on what they did when they were getting eased in or when they were not healthy, okay? In the 11th now, we are just in sleeper territory. Some guys I'm looking for in rounds 11 plus: Hollywood Brown, Cam Scatterbo, Colston Loveland, Emeka Egbuka, Kyle Williams, Jaden Blue, Dylan Sampson, Christian Kirk, Cedric Tillman, Chiga Okonkwo, Jordan Mason, Trey Benson, and J.K. Dobbins. Now, a lot of those guys are not super, super deep sleepers, but I'm all over them in rounds 11 plus. Taking a look at the board at flex, Christian Kirk just came home. Let's see if we can grab one of these rookie tight ends. I can't. Yeah, all the rookie tight ends are taken. How about a QB? J.J. McCarthy's on the board. We'll just take him. Might as well, in case Bo Nix doesn't have quite the best season in year 2. I don't see that happening. We take McCarthy, steps into an A-plus situation, some of the best weapons in the NFL. And with our final pick in the 13th, we have 3 running backs and 4 receivers, so let's go running back. And on the board, Trey Benson, I think, is a great pick. Dylan Sampson is my number 1 deep sleeper. But we will go ahead, guys, and draft Trey Benson just to close this out. So to finish this draft, guys, we have Bo Nix at QB, Ashton Genty and Kyron Williams at running back. We have Malik Neighbors, Cortland Sutton at wide receiver, Travis Kelce at tight end, George Pickens and Caleb Johnson at the flex, Tyjae Spears, Keon Coleman, Christian Kirk, J.J. McCarthy, Trey Benson on the bench. As you can see, 0 weak spots in this roster. Let me go ahead, guys, and just do one more mock draft here. Okay. Let me start this thing up real quick. And let's go to, we'll try to just run through the strategy just one more time. Let's go to 3rd overall. Okay, let's try that. And I hope Bijan's not on the board because we're probably going to have to take him if he is. Great. He goes at 101. And I just wanted to keep demonstrating that we can do this from either side of the draft. So with a wide receiver. So we're up at 103. Jefferson goes at 102. Obviously, we're going to take Jamar. In my eyes, Jamar Chase and Bijan are the 101 pick. You can go either way. I completely understand both sides. So Bijan and Jamar should be off the board 101 and 102 in no particular order. In this draft, we end up with Chase at 103, which is cool. If it was Jefferson, if it was Lamb, great. I'm taking a wide receiver there in utilizing this strategy. So now the strategy says RB in round 2 and RB in round 3. I'm looking at Josh Jacobs in round 2. Josh Jacobs was the only RB challenging Saquon for the middle part of that season last year. Saquon was taking over, but if you guys recall, I mean, there were games where Jacobs was getting 30-plus opportunities a game for weeks in a row. If we look at his player card here, the middle of the season last year, I mean, let's just begin here in week 7. I'll just read you his fantasy points here. 20.2, 25.5 in week 8, then 12.8 in week 9, not great against Detroit, but then after the bye, 23.4, 28.6, 21.7, 24.6, 21.6, 20.7 in week 16. He was RB2 during that span, behind only Saquon, so he has RB1 overall ceiling. Does Josh Jacobs. We got him in the 2nd. And then in the 3rd, Jonathan Taylor, who was the best running back last year in the playoffs, with the exception of Jahmyr Gibbs if you're including week 18, but JT was RB1 down the stretch. He has finished a top 12 running back, guys, Jonathan Taylor, in, let me think, 4 of the last 5 seasons played, top 12 in points per game. So he is the points per game CEO. I mean, if he were to play 14, 15 games, he's challenging for RB1 overall, right? Also, I've removed the face cam for YouTube for a second here, so no one is upset that they can't see the draft board. Because, guys, I don't want you upset, all right? Over at pick 12, I'll go back 12-1 here in the first round. We had Puka, Derrick Henry at 11, Nico Collins at 10, Neighbors at 9, Thomas at 8, Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7, then Gibbs, Barkley, Lamb, and we had Chase at 103. Now, we're up in the 4th, and let me just remind myself what the draft board says here, what the strategy says here that I've posted. By the way, guys, you want to view this strategy, okay? Head over to joeoricoff.com. NOEXPERTFantasyFootball.com also works. But yes, guys, head over to the website. You scroll down here to latest posts, and it's right here. Follow this guide to draft the perfect fantasy football team. And it is right here, guys. All the articles are being posted. All of the threads, all of the bonus content is posted right here. joeoricoff.com. You click Win Your League. You can join the Discord, get a custom draft guide, top 300 rankings, lineup optimizer, trade calculator, waiver targets, and anything Dynasty you need, guys. All right? So joeoricoff.com. Link is in the description. NoExpertFantasyFootball.com also works. And back to the draft in round 4. The guide is suggesting that we go ahead and take a look at these wide receivers. So let's see who's available. Rashee Rice is available. I'm taking him every day of the week. And we also have DK Metcalf on the board. But yeah, Rashee over him. I do think Rashee's going to jump to the 3rd or 2nd, no problem. And now in rounds 5 and 6, we are looking at another wide receiver and a tight end. All right, so let's take a look at tight end first. Hawkinson's on the board. And I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Hawkinson. I'm a fan of Laporta as well. Let me just go with Hawkinson. Be one of those two guys there. And if you recall, last time we went tight end in the 6th and we got Kelsey. This time we flipped it. Tight end in the 5th. And on the way back, we're going to look at the wide receivers who are coming back to us. So hopefully there's some good ones left. Always some value at wide receiver. Always, always, always. And approaching us here at the 6'10", Jerry Jeudy is still on the board. Jacoby Myers might reach on him. Okay, I prefer Myers to a lot of the guys ahead of him. Ayuk, Ridley, Shakir, Adunze, Travis Hunter. And I'm going to go ahead and draft Jacoby Myers. So Jacoby Myers, guys, averaged 9+ targets per game last year. 13 receivers did that over the course of the season. 9 of them finished top 12 with the position. Myers was not one of them because of the QB situation, in my opinion. I mean, we just had a plethora of terrible QBs throwing him the ball. We're up again in the 7th. Let's see what the draft guide suggests for the 7th. That's right. Running back and or QB. So let's take a look at running backs and QBs for round 7 and 8. QB we're going to wait on, right? We're in Goff territory right now. So we'll go ahead and draft Quinshon Judkins here at the 7:03 as our 3rd running back. Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, or Quinshon Judkins. My goodness gracious. Oh, God, that's quite the RB room here. Coming back to us in the 8th now, and I just realized the face cam is off. Let's get that back on. Hello, everyone. All right, 8-10, we're looking at QB. Let's take a look at the position. Goff still on the board. Bo Nix, Justin Herbert. Do we have any, let me see. Do we have any stack potential here? We have Jamar, so no. Rashee Rice, no. And Jacoby Myers, no. Okay, so let's just go, I'd go Bo Nix again, but let me just do a little Justin Herbert action. Why not, right? Kyler Murray just went before our pick. Probably would have taken him there. And now in the 9th, we do what we always do. We look at our running backs. We look at our wide receivers. Which one is stronger? Which one is weaker? So Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, and Jacoby Myers. Okay. Versus Jacobs, Taylor, and Quinshon Judkins. I do think my wide receivers are a tad riskier. So let's take a look at the wide receiver position here. And there's a young man by the name of Josh Downs on the board who is just simply going to be selected. His underlying utilization last year with a healthy quarterback was on par of fantasy wide receiver 1s. You're grabbing him in the 9th round. It's pretty incredible. It's a pretty incredible value. And Daniel Jones, guys, was feeding Wan'Dale Robinson targets last year. Like a lot of targets. So if that were to continue with the likes of Josh Downs, man, could be a special season for him. In the 10th, we're back up and probably looking at RB here. Cam Scatterboo, Rashad White, Tank Bigsby, those latter two guys I'm not interested in. J.K. Dobbins is an interesting pick, but we can wait on him. At wide receiver, Keon Coleman's there again. So honestly, it's Keon Coleman or Jalen McMillan. We took Coleman last time, so give me McMillan. And now let's go back to RB, and I will take Cam Scatterboo. Just get a little rookie action in there. And yeah, closing in here on the 12th and 13th rounds, we'll take a look at tight end and QB. I don't think there'll be too much of anything to pick. Might throw the dart on like a Cam Ward or something late here. JJ McCarthy again, Trevor Lawrence, who I think has a lot of upside. Let me take Lawrence, fair enough. And then to close this draft out, let's look at the flexes. Anything catching my eye? Kyle Williams of the Patriots catches my eye. So, final roster again, guys, looking pretty good. At QB, Justin Herbert. At running back, we have Josh Jacobs and JT. At wide receiver, Jamar Chase and Rashee Rice. At tight end, TJ Hawkinson. At the flex, Jacoby Myers and Quinshon Judkins for the flex. And then on the bench, Josh Downs, Jalen McMillan, Cam Scatterboot, Trevor Lawrence, and Kyle Williams. Again, guys, head over to joeoricoff.com. This article is available. It's called Follow This Guide to Draft the Perfect Fantasy Football Team. I hope I showed you today that it is possible from anywhere in the draft. And don't worry, we will be uploading draft guides for every single first-round player in every single format. So if you're not following on Twitter, at joeoricoff, at NOEXPERTFF, now's the time to follow. Now's the time to subscribe to the channel. Thank you, fellas. See ya.